All right, everyone, welcome to the channel. Um, this is our first video, so hopefully this will be the first of many more. This is Room 10 Studios, and see, basically, we're a bunch of freelance artists, and we decided to come together and do this channel, just to have fun. We'll be doing like a lot of art tutorials, and we'll show you how it's done. Like on this screen, you see I got a character artist. I'm sorry, a character, 3D character. If I can speak, have a 3D character. And I'm gonna show you how to do this from concept start to finish. My associates, they're environment artists. Show you how to do environments. Hopefully, we'll get some of our art friends on here to do some things. We'll also be doing like some gaming. We'll talk about anime, of course. We'll talk about art school, which we all have our views in art school, movies, life, and just general nerd stuff. But for this video, I guess you're all here for this, the character. Before we start, a little bit about this. What you're seeing here is like the raw sculpt in ZBrush. So there's a thing called PBR. ZBrush doesn't have PBR. So while this looks good, to make it look even better, it's like more advanced stuff. You have to put like shaders and stuff on here. You don't do any of that in ZBrush. You just make the scope. So if she looks kind of gray, or if it looks but looks kind of off, that's why. Because this is just a sculpting software. It's not a rendering software. If that makes any sense. So how do you go about doing this? The first thing is you have to do the hard stuff. I know I spoke with some people online. I had some debates, and there are some people who think, well, why do I have to do the hard stuff? I can just get to doing the sculpt. If you do that, if you do that 9 times out of 10, you will fail, or you will be wasting time by always trying to go back to fix something that you should have did in the beginning. So art, especially 3D art, is all a process, and you have to nail the process, or you have to develop a process that makes sense to you to get to the point that you want to get to. Okay, so what is that? What is the secret sauce and magic to all this? And it's gathering reference. So to do this, you have to spend 2 to 3 hours gathering reference. And you're like, what? That sounds crazy. Would I have to spend that much time gathering reference, looking at things? Why can't I just get to the project? Well, I have to tell you. So say you were tasked with making a cowboy, or you want to make a cowboy. What goes into making a cowboy? What does a cowboy hat Look like? What does his gun look like? What does his vest look like? What kind of shoes do cowboys wear? What kind of jeans do they wear? What kind of shirts do they wear? They smoke cigarettes. How were cigarettes made when they were alive? What kind of facial hair did they have? What did they put on their horse to ride the horse? It's like all these other assets that goes with making a cowboy. You just can't say, well, I'll make a cowboy, get into it, and not have your reference or your accessories with it. So assets is another important thing when making this. You have to gather your references. Also, you have to think about posing, but you don't want to be a slave to your pose. And let's pull up the good old Google to show you what I mean. So these are a bunch of comic book poses. This is literally the first page of Google. So let's say that you wanted to do something like, let's see it. Oh, this is a good one. Like this, She-Hulk. We all love She-Hulk. Oh, what happened here? Huh? Go back. She-Hulk. We all love She-Hulk. But you get into 3D, what you will quickly realize is sometimes 2D poses and 3D, they don't play well with each other. And what I mean by that is 2D is a trick, it's just a perspective trick, but in 3D, you have to nail it. So what I mean by that is This is an illustration from the great Adam Hughes. He was commissioned to do like a She-Hulk statue. I believe this was for the Marvel Select. I think. Correct me if you guys know in the comment section. It was a while ago. He was commissioned to do the statue. I remember watching the him drawing this, and what he said was for the first time he had to think about what does a drawing look like from the back, from the front, three-dimensionally, not just from its angle of view. This is a perfect example of this. So when you're breaking down a 2D image and you're trying to put it into 3D, it's like, well, what's going on this side? What's going on the back? What's going on here? And oftentimes when comic book artists or illustrators do stuff like this, they just do it from one view. They're not showing you what's going on with the leg or here with the hand, what's going on here. You just can't do that. They don't do that stuff, so you don't see it. So oftentimes you have to make it up. So when you're looking at reference and you want to follow a reference information, so you have to use this as a guide, not a one-to-one thing. If you were doing this as a one-to-one thing in the studio, they'll give you something called a character sheet. This is a character sheet turnaround. As you can see, they're giving you, let's look at Homer here, they're giving you the view from every angle. So if you wanted to follow something tightly, this is how you would do it. Scroll down here. Yeah, this is good. This is a good example here. They're just following it tightly. So if you were charged with, following something tightly, you would be given a character sheet, or you would do a character sheet. If you just want to do like a cool pose or a cool, pin up or something like that, you just find an image that you like, and you'll go from off the energy that it gives, because it would be hard to do something one-to-one when you don't have the total view. I hope that makes sense. You guys let me know in the comment section. Okay, so this is the second thing I want to talk about, getting photo reference. It's a thing called camera focal length. And this is tricky. This actually screwed me up for a long time. I was trying to model people and celebrities offline. Oftentimes, if you want to, model, I don't know, like Paul Rudd or Angela Jolie or Celebrity X, Brie Larson, something like that, you'll go online and you'll look for a photo. But what you have to understand is those photos were taken with different cameras. So one camera, they might take it at 24 millimeters, and that distorts the picture like that. And another one, they might take it at 135 millimeters or even 200 millimeters, and that further distorts the image. So when you put the image together and you're trying to compare it, it would never match up, and that would throw off your total scope. So it is not wise, or I would not recommend you just Googling images of celebrities trying to take pictures and put them together and use them for reference, because you will never get a good reference. This is how I would advise you guys to do it. So this is a site called 3DSK, and this is some more sites like this. And what this site does is it gives you pictures of people with the same focal length, so everything is consistent. So you got a front view of her, quarter view, profile view. You can see what she's doing up, when she's looking down. You can see what she's doing when she's looking up. This is some secret sauce stuff here. This is what a lot of character artists use when they're making up characters. They use this site because you can get good reference views to do, generic people. The only thing with this is quite pricey to get these photos. So if you are serious about becoming a character artist, I would definitely invest in this. If you're just a hobbyist or you just want to know generally how to do it, I don't know, because the picture sets become quite pricey. You can end up spending $100 just for 2 or 3 photo sets. And is it worth it to you? I don't know. If you don't want to pursue this as a career, I'm not sure if it's worth it. But if you're trying to pursue this as a career, this is totally worth it and a good asset. So now we're here in Photoshop, and this is where the true magic of this happens, I guess. And this is where you're going to break down the drawing. And you're going to analyze it, and you're going to put up what's called your guides. So just go to View, Rulers, and we're going to start to line this picture up. So the reason we're doing this, we're setting up a view where we're going to set up the front view and the side view so they match. So we can put it in Zbrush, and we're just going to basically block out the silhouette. So you can see it's a lot of asymmetry going on with her head. So we're going to set up the first guy. We're going to try to find the center point, and that's here. You see she's a little bit tilted, so it's going to go to transform, kind of make that symmetrical, but not too symmetrical. Because here's the thing, most people's faces are not symmetrical. There's a lot of asymmetry. And for guys who don't know what asymmetry is, it's like it's not the same on both sides. That's just the simplest way to put it. It's a lot of asymmetry faces. If you ever looked at a 3D model or a scanned person, ton of asymmetry. Faces are weird, man. So we're gonna line up the center line. We're gonna come down. We're gonna line up her eye. We're gonna line up the bottom of her nose. We're gonna line up her lips, and we're gonna line up the bottom of her chin. So now that we got that, we'll come to our side view, and let's open up this some more so we can get all that in there. Okay, so with that, we will come in. Same thing, just hit transform and try to line up those guides to look like we ran out of room. There's some more room going. Yeah, I know you guys might be like, what? When did we get to the exciting stuff? When did we get to sculpting? This is the stuff you have to do to successfully execute a sculpt. I know it's boring, and you guys say, I just want to get to the exciting part. This is if you want to be a character artist or you want to make sure that your sculpts are successful. This is one of the things you have to do. Okay, so this is basically lined up. So here's the thing. You can get away with just having a front and a side view. The most important view when doing this stuff is the side view. And it's a side view because it has the most information, is what I mean by that. Because we have to do some measuring when we do this. Generally, your eye and your ear, when you're measuring to make sure if your stuff is right, your eye and your ear will kind of match up. See, hers is going a little bit over, but your ear would generally be around this area. When I see people do sculpts, and I used to do it too when I started off, people put their ear up here, somewhere around here. And it's like, man, why do it look off? Because your ear is not in the proper position. So if you look at it here, her ear and her eye sort of matches up. So when you're doing this stuff and you like doing general measurements and you're doing a human character, your ear should be somewhere around here by your eye. It varies, but it's somewhere around here. It shouldn't be up here unless you're doing like a creature or you're purposely distorting your character. Your ear shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be here. It should be somewhere around here. Okay, so the bottom of your ear and the bottom of your nose, that matches up too. So generally, the bottom of your nose would be somewhere around here. So if you look at this picture right here, where's the bottom of her ear and the bottom of her nose? It kind of matches up. So when you're measuring that, you want to make sure the bottom of your nose is somewhere here. Here's another measuring point. So the corner of your mouth and where your chin kind of bends matches up. So if you see here, the corner of her mouth and where her chin starts to make that swoop, if you guys can see that, that's another point you want to measure. So when you're doing your sculpts, the three parts you want to measure, you make sure your ear and your eye are somewhere here, and your mouth and where your chin starts to bend somewhere here. Also, you want to make sure you hit like this little angle that's coming in right here. If you see where the nose, then the lips hit, it's making this. Let me bust out the brush. Maybe I should use a brush for that, huh? No, I don't want that. It's a new layer. Performing under pressure. Okay. Okay. So you see how, oh, that's horrible. But you see that shape, right? You see how that's making that. Let's get another color. Let's go with red. I always go with red when I block this stuff out. And I should get a hard brush. Okay. Here we go. But you see, don't do that. You're embarrassing me from the YouTube. But you see how it's making that shape right there. That's kind of, this shape right here is kind of what you want to look out for when you're matching up your profile. That's what I mean. This is the most important view because there's a lot of information here that you have to match up. So if you can see with the ear thing, this is what I was telling you here. That's all that kind of has to match up. If you do that, you're golden. That's one rule of like kind of staying on concept. And there's some basic stuff going on here. So the eye in this kind of matches up here. So you want to make sure you don't put your mouth here unless you're the Joker and you want to have her do a crazy laugh like that. Make sure you don't have the corner of her lips. And this goes for men too. If you're making guys, you want to make sure the corner of your lip kind of matches up with your eye. And also nose. So this and this and this is the same distance here. So whatever the distance is here, it's the same distance here, and the same distance here, and the same distance here. It varies a little bit, but basically it's the same distance. So when you're doing your measurements, this and this, this and this, this and this is the same distance. All this is the same distance. If you make, hold on, let's do this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. So if you make this distance, then you come and put the nose here and put the eye here, you can kind of see you're going to start getting screwy stuff. You get weird proportions. That's what people mess up too. You know, I was there too when I first started. It's your proportions. You have to understand what your proportions are doing. That's the big thing. So let me see, can I pull up this picture? Okay, so this is, whatever. Don't do that Photoshop. So, okay, so I'll give you guys like $90,000 art school education, which I paid for in 10 seconds. It's a thing called invention of anatomy. So what that means is in real life, it's a whole bunch of muscles that's going on into the face and all this stuff. But as artists, we can't come in here and put all that anatomy in there. It just doesn't work. So we have to reduce that into like basic shapes, basic forms. And that's what's going on here. You are inventing basic forms and you're making them to edges. So you say, that sounds crazy. What are you talking about, man? Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. So, looking at this is the edge, and you have to train your eye to see this. This is the edge in itself. This is another edge. This is the edge right here. Now, there's another edge that separates this. This is kind of called the Riley method. If you ever look at that or Google that online, this is the Riley method. This is breaking up how the face works. And this is basically what you're doing when you're analyzing your reference. You're making a little keystone here. Remember, a nose is just a triangle. That's all this is a triangle. You're reducing it to its basic forms. See, that's just a triangle. Here is the tricky part. These are glasses. Think of these as glasses. So it's a circle here. So if you get older, this starts to dip more and more and more. You get like these deep pits. So when you see people modeling older people, you get deep pits. Or if you just Google, I forgot the guy's name who played Gandalf. He has like really great eyes because they like dip. They got so much character to them. But as you start to age, that dips more and that comes in more, and you can see those glasses more. This is the tricky part right here that gets everybody confused. This is called a nasal fold. I know what it is. It's like, but if you ask me to break down or tell you what the technical term for each anatomy part is, and I can't do that. Most artists I know, they can't tell you what it is, but they can tell you where it goes. I'm in that category. But this is a nasal fold. So basically, it's a fold that goes here. And this is most prominent in like older people or like guys, especially like older people. You can just see it in there, but ladies have it too. Everybody has this, and this is your cheek, and then here, right here, is where your mouth starts, and this is your actual mouth. You know, like this, and this also is like a triangle shape. If you can see what I'm doing here. So these are the shapes you have to start paying attention to as you block this out. Now the big shape that gets everybody, I'm gonna do this in a different color. Let me do this in a different color so you can see what I mean. This is called the mandible. And the mandible sits right here. This is a big shape. So the mandible, if you're a person who chews gum or you do like a lot of bite, you have like this big, gigantic mandible that's sitting right here. And that's that shape right here. That's that big boy. So the more powerful that is, the more you view it from the front view, but you can really see it from the side view. And that's why the side is important too. This mandible sticks out the more powerful it is. The less powerful your mandible is, it kind of blends in, but it's still there. So you can see how I have carved all that up just from here. So if you sculpting, you have to know what these shapes are. You have to start to break down your reference and see it like this. So let's go back to our side view and do that. See the same thing. The shapes here, again, that shape, that shape, that shape. Now from the side, the eye, which is this little thing right here, think of that as like a Pac-Man shape. Just a V. You gotta get that V there. And you have to go back to your cheek fold right here. There's your cheek, the nasal fold, and there's the rest of your cheek right here. And your nose, which is just a triangle. All right. All right. I know if this is new, this is probably, it's going to be intimidating and confusing to you guys. I will provide a link to some good anatomy books that can break it down, but this is the kind of stuff that you need to know in order to execute successful sculpts. You don't have to know the names of it. You don't have to know what it is, or you don't have to go to a medical book. Like, I know this term and I know this term, but you have to know how to visually represent it. This is another drawing As you can see what I crudely did here, he's doing here as well. Go to a new layer and do that. This artist here has broken down the form. You can see this. So when you look at a head, you know, if you were a kid, you ever say, "Oh, that guy got a big head, that girl got a big head." That's because this is protruding out. As you see here, her head is not exactly flat. You can see it has some bulbous to it, and that's what's going on here. As you can see, the side of the head is kind of more flat, and it makes that angle. And here's that your brow here, your keystone here, your nose. And the nose is pretty big. So like I said, a nose is a triangle. Just think of everything as a triangle. That's all a shape is. That's all a face is, a series of shapes. So once you see that, you'll be more successful in breaking it out. Here's a nasal fold. Here's the cheek going in there. His mandible is not really there. It's kind of small, so it's like he's just going into that angle. Got that little shape right here. So you got all this. So this is what goes into a drawing or a sculpt. So when you're breaking this down, before you even get into the sculpt, I will look at drawings like this, especially like when it's really realized like this, and I would go in and I would start drawing in the edges like I did here, so you can fully understand what you're looking at. This will help you sculpt tremendously. Okay, so now here's the part that everyone wants to do is how do I take that information I just gave you? How do I make a freaking head? So before we get there, I know you're tired of hearing this, but we have to go over a couple of more things. One, get some general Zbrush things. So once you start, if you go up here to transform, you can activate symmetry, and you can make this symmetrical. But as you can see, this is still a little bit too high. So what I like to do, I like to come down here to, here we go, remesh, and I like to set this to 0.1. That gives me something really low to sculpt on like this. This is better for beginning to sculpt. Also, I like to go big, so my screen size here is a little bit too small. So I like to go to document, and I just crank this all the way up, and I resize that. So I resize this. I control N to clear it, and I just bring this up, hit T, hit switch. Oops, I'm sorry. Hit T, control N. Okay. And I frame that up. And also I go to anti-aliasing, and I just put that to half size. So I'm almost ready to go. I kind of don't like the black screen. I like to go like somewhere in between gray. So in this color pick, I just go here. I go to document. I go to back for background, and it makes it that background color. Here, I'm just getting rid of the little range you had in the background. So I can clearly see everything that's going on here. And the reason it's colored, oops, let's make my color back white, put that off, boom, boom, boom. So we're almost ready to go. So here's a little debate in the art world. Some people like to start from a ball. Then there are some people who like to start from a base mesh. I forgot where I got this base mesh from. I think it was Flip Normals or somewhere. It's just a base mesh. The argument is if you start from a ball, you're just coming in and you're just excuse me. Just coming in. Okay, what I'm doing here, so when I move this is RGB. I don't want any color associated with this. I just want to move the thing. So when you see me taking that off, that is, I'm turning off the color. So you just come in, you just push, pull, make a basic shape like a head, blase blee. That's what's going on here. That's basically what all's going on here. And you high res it. So the high res something, you hit divide. This is giving you like subdivision. So you can always go back to your lower subdivision and move it some more, or then you can go to your higher subdivision and start putting in like more details. So some people like to start it off like that. Say that was a head, and that's right. That's how some people like to start it off. Some people like to start off from a base mesh where you already have the information here. And you can just come in, turn on symmetry. You can come in and just move the mouth and everything to match your concept. So let's say for some reason you were doing a guy like that. That looked like the what's that Egyptian guy who was married to Cleopatra? Not Cleopatra. You guys know what I'm talking about. The Egyptian guy that got the weird head. Anyway, it kind of looks like him. Remember earlier when we were talking about the head? So let's go back to this. Let's go back here. We're talking about what the general proportions are. What I like to use base meshes is I can do it from a ball, but it would take me about 3 hours to get to here. And at the point where I'm at, I just want to sculpt, man. I just want to get to here. So I use base meshes for heads. Okay. So you see what we were talking about earlier, like some people you start off, this is why your thing will look weird. The ears will be at some weird spot. You're like, man, why doesn't it look right? Or your mouth will be at some weird spot. You're like, man, why doesn't that look right? It's always something out of proportion that makes your model look weird. And the one thing is the big head. You see this? I used to do this too when I started. You was like, man, why do it look weird? What's going on? I'm trying to be like Raphael Grassetti, but it's just not there. That's because your proportions are totally off, and that's what screws up your model. But you can also see by me doing this, if you line up your reference correctly, you can just come in and make totally cool stuff, different shapes. So I like to use a base mesh and just come in and just like match up my settings like that. So how do you match it up, you say? Well, let's get this going. So you go into this thing called Spotlight. There's a texture. First, I'm sorry, you gotta load the texture. So let's import the texture. You can see everything I've been looking at for this project, so don't judge me. Don't judge me. Okay, let me find this and I'll be right back. I'm back. So I just went to import and I found the texture. So here you have to click this. You have to click add to spotlight. So once it adds the spotlight, you get this thing come up and give you a lot of options. If you can see my screen, the first thing I want to do is play with the opacity to bring that down some. If you hit Z, you can get in and out of spotlight. So the thing we want to come in now, we want to kind of like match up. And as you can see, in the video I'm about to show you when I'm like doing this, I went ahead and I matched up everything like I was showing you before with the muscles and everything. So what we have to do, or what you have to do, is kind of line it up like so. And then if you go to document, Z Applink, you hit front. Now that's stored. So let's say you get out of that position or you wind up here. You go back here, you hit front, boom, you back in that position. So you got your front stored. You want to go back to your side and you kind of want to line that up as good as you can. Go here, and I just make it right. It don't matter. Just hit right. Now that's lined up. Then I can come back to my side, to my 3/4 view here. I just hit it like that. So you got this view, and this view right here. Got all that lined up. So now you can come in Make sure symmetry is on. You can kind of like, yes, want to do that. Yeah, so you just come in, you can just kind of line up. And the reason I made that bright red, you can easily see where you're going and where you have to hit. So you just lining that up to the point. Also with 3D, and this is where a lot of people get turned off by it, 75% of the time it's gonna look funky. It's gonna look wrong. It's a process. You're blocking out shapes. So you have to trust the process to get you there. So let's go to texture and turn that off. So let's say that was right and we blocked that out a little bit right. Even though this is wrong, I was just doing a demo, but say that was right and we were happy with that. Now we have to go in and add our muscles to this, right? So how would we do that? What I like to do, it's like how real sculptors do it. It's like called anatomical sculpting, right? So remember I told you it's like some meat up here, right? So what I would do is I would mask this shape off. I hit mask, and I would go to extract, make it like a low number, extract this, get that shape out. So basically, this is on this separate layer, and I can add some thickness. So I would go to deform and put in like 4 to make it kind of thick. So I can sculpt on this without disturbing this shape right here. So I can get this shape right without disturbing the underneath shape. I'm big on like having your silhouettes done right and having your shapes done right. Also, trick. So if you want to move this, see how this is moving with that. So in your move brushes, pick whichever move brush you want to use this for. Chin on, back face masking. That way, when it moves it like that. So it's still sticking to the geometry so you can come smooth. See, so you still have that shape. It's not moving off of there. And speaking of smooth, here's another trick too. So if you go to your light box and you go to brushes and you go to smooth, there are extra smooths here. So you can smooth this in the direction that you want, and you can smooth stronger. I use these two. So when I'm in my low poly stage, like I am now, I just hit shift, the smooth comes up. This will smooth it in the direction that you're going in. So let's add some more subdivisions. Show you guys what I mean. So this smooths it going this way. And if you let go of the shift key, you get like a better transition. Also, instead of using the smooth key, this is the high poly brush. The high poly brush, yeah, that's it. This also acts as like a smooth device too. If you hit Alt, it smooths in the positive. So it's like, so sometimes when you're doing this, you try to smooth, it would destroy your shape. But if you use the high polish, it's like smoothing and keeping your shape. So if you get more into modeling, like this is good for hard surface stuff, and this is just good in general. Like use this along with your smooth, and it just gives you like a really clean shape without destroying your silhouette. Hope that makes sense. So, all right, let's get to the video. About to show you a video of me actually doing this process, and hopefully it'll make a lot more sense as I'm doing it. I've explained it to you. So when you're looking at it, you're gonna be like, what the hell is this guy doing? So let's get to the video, and I'll see you on the flip side.